Okay, chapter 4, unit 1, meaning and types of markets. Now what is a market? Market is a collection where buyers and sellers come together with a potential to trade. What constitutes a market? Buyers and sellers, a product or a service, bargaining for a price, knowledge about market conditions, and one price for a product or service at a given time. This is clear. What constitutes a market? You should know. Everybody who has the potential to trade, either buy or sell, is going to form part of a market. Now, classification of market. Firstly, markets are divided into two: product markets and factor markets. What are product markets? Product markets are something which directly reach the consumers. Those are product markets. Consumers directly buy those products. Factor markets, they are nothing but who supply to these people who provide product. Yes or no? Do you understand what that means? Factor markets is nothing but your land, labor, capital and entrepreneurship. Those are factor markets. Ultimately it reaches the consumer, but they are only the suppliers of raw materials. Understand it in that way. Yes? So those are factor markets. Now on the basis of geographical area, local markets is within a particular vicinity, some particular place. Okay, then regional markets is a particular city. Regional market is a particular city where those products are available there, or they are famous for that. National markets confined to a particular country. And international markets is your globalization. You can export and import based on that. On the basis of time, Alfred Marshall conceived the time concept. First you are talking about very short period market. So what cannot be adjusted in a very short period market? Supply cannot be adjusted. So you cannot change, increase or decrease the supply. Whatever is fixed, that good. Demand might increase, but supply will not increase or decrease. What is the short period market? Supply can be moderately adjusted. What is the long period market? All factors can be adjusted. All the factors can be adjusted. On the basis of nature of transaction. Spot market or cash market. What does that mean? Immediate sale of a commodity and you are transferring the rights also to that person on spot. Yes? What is the forward or future market? You get into a contract today to sell the product and deliver the product at a future date. Okay? At a future date. On the basis of regulation. Regulated market, terms and conditions apply. Unregulated market, they do not apply. On the basis of volume of business, wholesale, when you buy a product in bulk, B2B, business to business, which means you will get it at a lesser rate. And when it's a retail market, it's B2C, business to consumer. So you get it at different rate. Yes? On the basis of competition, perfect competition, monopolistic competition, monopoly and oligopoly. Perfect competition batao do, because rest we are still yet to do. Where large number of buyers are there who have very little share in the market and hence they cannot influence the price. They are selling homogeneous or identical products. That is why all the products are perfectly elastic. Yes, then they are price takers. They have free entry and exit into the market, very low transaction cost, and they have perfect knowledge about the market conditions. Okay, so other three we'll revise eventually. Okay. Chalo. Concepts of total revenue, average revenue and marginal revenue. What is total revenue? First, total revenue is price into quantity, or the total revenue is nothing but the income earned by selling all the units of the output. Whatever units of output you sell, whatever income you get from that is your total revenue. Yes, what is average revenue? Average revenue is revenue earned per unit of output. Revenue earned per unit of output. So it is AR is equal to TR by Q, or average revenue is equal to price, or AR is equal to P. What is marginal revenue? Change in total revenue by selling an additional unit of output, or the addition made to total revenue by selling an additional unit of output. What is the formula of TRN is equal to TRN minus 1. And when you are given quantities which are not immediate to each other, instead of 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, then you use the formula MR is equal to delta TR by delta Q. Delta TR is change in total revenue, delta Q is change in total output, whatever. Chalo. Now what's happening in this table? What's happening to total revenue? Total revenue is increasing. What is happening to... So this is in case when the AR is continuously falling. This is the table for falling AR. When AR is falling, what do we say happens to the MR? MR is lesser than AR. So MR is falling at a faster rate than AR. So that's what is happening in this table. AR is falling, but MR is falling more than AR. TR is also summation of marginal revenue. Yes? Total revenue is also summation of marginal revenue. Now, when we consider this graph, first, is average revenue a downward sloping curve or upward sloping curve? Downward sloping curve. That means AR is nothing but your demand curve. It is showing you the demand for a particular commodity. Now, when that is happening, is there an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded? Yes or no? For falling AR, do you know MR is going to be less than AR? Yes. What is happening to total revenue? It is increasing but at a diminishing rate because MR is continuously falling. Till MR is positive, TR is increasing. When MR is 0, TR is maximum. When MR is negative, TR starts falling. What is happening to average revenue? It continues to fall, but MR is below AR. Is that clear? So when MR is 0 and TR is maximum, what is the slope of total revenue? 0. Because MR is 0, the slope of total revenue is also 0. Now you're clear hopefully with this perfect competition. What are we saying for perfect competition? For constant average revenue, marginal revenue is equal to average revenue. So when marginal revenue is equal to average revenue, what is happening here? You have the AR or MR curve is parallel to the x-axis. You are saying a price is set because they are price takers. Price is set by the industry and the firms follow that price. Yes? Okay. So under perfect competition, what kind of elasticity exists? Perfectly elastic demand. Now relationship between AR, MR, TR and price elasticity of demand. The formula is MR is equal to AR into E minus 1 by E, where E is the price elasticity of demand. We say that when E is equal to 1, MR is 0. When E is greater than 1, MR will be positive. When E is less than 1, MR will be negative. Okay, so when we see that in a straight line downward falling demand curve, what is happening here? Now when the demand curve is, this is the demand curve, say AR, yes? Now it's continuously falling. When E is equal to 1, we know MR is going to be 0. So this is the MR curve. This is 0. This is the MR curve, yes or no? This is the MR curve. MR is 0, TR is maximum. When MR is falling, E is greater than 1. What is happening to total revenue here? Total revenue is increasing. When MR is 0, total revenue is maximum. When it becomes negative, TR starts falling. Are we clear about this? Why is TR increasing at a diminishing rate? It is because MR is falling but is positive. So TR is increasing at a diminishing rate. Okay. And this you have to remember this point. Negative MR means MR curve goes below x-axis into the fourth quadrant. Fourth quadrant is what is below normally happening. So this is just one point which is a little different. You don't need to go deep into this, but you have to remember when MR goes into the negative area, you say it has entered the fourth quadrant. Now, behavioral principles. Principle 1, a firm should not produce at all if its total variable costs are not met. What does this mean? Price is below ABC. When price is below ABC, you are not able to meet your variable costs at all. So in that case, you should technically shut down. It need not be for permanently, but it should be for, it might be for a small period of time. So your average variable cost becomes your shutdown price. Okay, this you remember. When price is above ABC and below ATC, you are meeting all of your variable costs and part of your fixed cost. You continue to be in business. When price is greater than price or AR is greater than ATC, supernormal profits. When AR is equal to ATC, normal profits. This you guys know. There's no confusion with this. Clarity. Principle 2. The firm will be making maximum profits by expanding output to the level where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. So we are trying to say the firm will go on producing to a time where whatever addition is made is adding more to revenue than to cost. They will not stop until the level that keeps happening. When you're already earning more revenue and lesser cost, you will obviously want to go ahead, make more output. So now I am saying if MR is greater than MC, additional units are adding more to revenue than to cost. So you continue. So here in this case till point OQ, you continue because everything is adding more to revenue than to cost. But when MR becomes less than MC, that is MC is greater than MR, so additional units are adding more to cost than to revenue. So you stop production. You don't continue because your profits start decreasing. Earlier they were increasing. At what point are you maximizing profit? When MR is equal to MC. When MR is equal to MC, profits are maximized. And the output is maximizing level of output. Is it clear, everyone? Okay. Chalo. Chapter 4, Unit 2, we spoke about determination of prices. So, how are prices generally determined? By interaction of demand and supply. And when do you say the market is in equilibrium? When the buyers and suppliers are both happy with the price and quantity. It can be quantity demanded or supplied. They are both happy with the price. So the price would be equilibrium price. Will it also be the market prevailing price at that point? So can we call it market clearing price also, equilibrium price? Yes. And price is determined by the interaction of demand and supply. In cases where demand becomes greater than supply or supply becomes greater than demand, so we say that the equilibrium is not met. It's not stable equilibrium anymore. Then in that situation, what do? Either you increase or decrease the price. Other things being equal, you get it back to stable equilibrium. Yes? So what happens in case generally when demand is greater than supply? When demand is greater than supply, you increase or decrease the price? You increase the price so that demand comes down and supply goes up. And vice versa, when supply is more than demand, price is decreased so that demand increases and supply decreases. So this is how you reach your stable equilibrium. Now in the first scenario we had the price, equilibrium price was 10. Okay? When the price jumped to 15, what happened to the demand and what happened to the supply? Chalo. So the price has increased to 15. Meaning, is the market price more than the equilibrium price? Yes. And what demand is more than supply? Supply is more than demand. Supply is more than demand. So when supply is excess, you reduce the price, increase demand, reduce supply. Comes back to equilibrium. And when price falls to 5, demand is more than supply. When demand is more than supply, we'll increase the price. The demand will automatically reduce and supply will increase. These are the scenarios which it is going to run through. Okay, now here we were talking about only price. But in real world scenarios, there are other factors affecting demand and supply except for price. Okay, just for fun, what are determinants of demand? Price of the commodity, price of related commodities which are substitutes and complementary goods, consumer expectations, taste and preferences of buyers, size of population, credits, taxation, future expectation, yes. Age distribution and other factors, growth in the. So you all know what other things can affect demand. Yes. Now these factors, when we talk about, here we are assuming, we just for our assumption purpose we have taken income of the consumer. If it increases, what happens? And we're not talking about price. When things other than price affect demand, what happens to the demand curve? Demand curve either shifts to the right or shifts to the left. So this is for other reasons. So either there is going to be an increase or decrease in demand. So there will be a shift in the demand curve or the supply curve, whatever you're going to talk about. First scenario, when there is an increase in demand, we say if there is an increase in demand, you are automatically assuming other things remaining the same. Now when there is an increase in demand, where does the demand curve shift? Right. So when the demand curve shifts to the right, and this was the original equilibrium, OP, OQ is the original quantity. Now at the same place, when demand is shifted to D1, when the demand has shifted, what happens? Later, that's later. But at this point, there is nowhere you're meeting supply curve. There is no supply curve here. Yes or no? But how do you achieve equilibrium? By interaction of demand and supply. Yes or no? Where demand is equal to supply. For that to happen, here in this case, what is more and what is less? Demand is more than supply. You already know what happens when demand is more than supply. You have to increase the price. So what happens to the price? Equilibrium price increases and equilibrium quantity also increases. In case of demand, it increased furthermore. Because you increase the price, it fell a little. So the quantity ultimately increases, but because demand was more than supply, you increase the price and reduce the demand. Now in case of decreased demand curve shifts to the left. Now when demand curve has shifted to the left, meaning there is a fall in demand, supply becomes greater than demand. You know the rule, when supply is greater than demand, what happens to the price? You increase or decrease? Decrease the price so that demand increases and supply. Guys, always apply this thing that what is greater than what. So automatically the answer will come. So in short, equilibrium price has increased or decreased? From the earlier, decreased. What happened to equilibrium quantity? Quantity falls? Yes? Okay, that's what I'm asking. What happens when there is an increase in supply? Supply curve shifts to the? When supply curve has increased, automatically we understand supply is greater than demand. What would you do to the price? Will you decrease the price? When there is a decrease in supply, supply will shift to the? Assuming other things are same, when it automatically demand is greater than supply, then what will you do to the price? Increase the price, reduce demand, increase supply. So you will reach your new equilibrium. Guys, when you make the graph, understand, whenever a question like this comes, make a graph. When you make a graph, it makes it easier to understand what happens to the equilibrium quantity. Price, I know you will get it right. Now you have a concept of where demand is greater than supply or supply is greater than demand. There are only two scenarios generally. Okay? What happens to the equilibrium quantity, you will get to know only through the graph. So please make that small graph beside the question so that you're clear as to what it's going to be. Okay. Now when there are simultaneous changes in demand and supply, meaning they're changing in the same direction. What happens when demand curve is changing in the same direction? First, when increase in demand is equal to increase in supply, what happens in that scenario? So basically, both have shifted equally. So they are meeting somewhere equally. So the price need not change. So the price remains the same. Quantity, equilibrium quantity increases because both demand and supply are increasing. So automatically the quantity would increase. Second scenario, when increase in demand is greater than increase in supply, does it automatically mean demand is greater than supply? What would you do in that scenario to the price? Demand is greater than supply, and you automatically increase the price so that demand falls, supply. You're understanding how to reach, but what would happen to the quantity? Quantity increases or reduces? Increases, because ultimately both are increasing. Understand that. It is increase in supply, increase in demand greater than increase in supply. But ultimately both are increasing, so equilibrium quantity will also increase only. When will it shift? When they are working in opposite directions. One is increasing, one is decreasing. That's different. Next scenario, when increase in supply is greater than increase in demand, meaning supply is greater than demand. Both are increasing, but in this scenario, supply is greater than demand. What happens to the price? Price will decrease because you have to increase the demand and reduce the supply. What happens to the equilibrium quantity? Increases or decreases? Increases, because ultimately both are increasing only. Yes? Now the scenario, different scenario. Decrease in demand is greater than decrease in supply. I am giving you a scenario where decrease in demand is greater than decrease. Both are decreasing. Which is more? Understand what I am saying again. Decrease in demand is greater than decrease in supply. Supply is greater than demand. Supply is greater than demand. What would you do to the price? Price will increase. Increase or decrease? When supply is greater than demand, price will decrease. Supply will increase. Do you understand how to get to the price? Price you will be able to answer very easily what you would do to the price. What will happen to the quantity? Decrease, because both are decreasing, automatically quantity will decrease. So this is an easier way to get to quantity and price. Remember this. Next, when decrease in supply is greater than decrease in demand, demand is greater than supply. When demand is greater, that means you have to reduce, increase the price, and demand will automatically fall, supply will. What will happen to the quantity? It will decrease because both are decreasing. Is it clear? Did you understand what I am trying to say? When you start answering MCQs, it should not be confusing. It will be easier to answer. You cannot take 3 minutes to answer this question. Yes? You have to answer it faster. So get to the concept which is greater. Understand that and then answer the question. Okay? Next, we'll go to the part where they are doing opposite directions. Chalo. Now, when increase in demand is greater than decrease in supply. Demand is greater than supply. What will happen to the price? Price will increase. Demand is greater than supply. Price will increase. Supply will decrease. Demand will increase. Supply will increase. Demand will decrease. Confidence अलग चल रहा है तुम लोगों का. Guys, when price increases, demand will increase. Supply will increase. Remember that. Don't get confused. What will happen to the equilibrium quantity generally? Will it increase or decrease? Chalo. Are you sure? When the increase in demand is greater than decrease in supply, equilibrium quantity will also increase. Okay, next scenario. When decrease in supply is greater than increase in demand. Now supply is falling at a higher rate than increase in demand. Still demand will be greater than supply because supply is falling. So what will happen to the equilibrium price? Increase. So same thing, demand will fall, supply will increase. What will happen to the equilibrium quantity? But it will fall. Why will it fall? Because the impact of decrease in supply is more than increase in demand. That is why equilibrium quantity falls. Okay? Next scenario. Increase in supply is greater than decrease in demand. Increase in supply is greater than decrease in demand. Meaning supply is greater than demand. What will you do? Reduce the price. Supply automatically falls. Demand will increase. What will happen to the quantity? Increase? Increase or decrease? Fast? Increase. Okay. Then when there is decrease in demand is greater than increase in supply. Decrease? No. Decrease in demand is greater than increase in supply. So obviously supply is greater than demand. Guys, understand what I am saying. Decrease in demand. So you know demand is already decreasing. It cannot be more. It is greater than increase in supply. Decrease in demand हो रहा है, but it is greater than increase in supply. The impact of that is more. So what will happen to the price? Guys, supply is still increasing. No, ऐसा क्यों कर रहे हो तुम लोग? अब एक बात बताओ. Decrease in supply. When it is decrease in demand, demand is decreasing, supply is increasing. ठीक है? Supply is more than demand. What will happen to the price? Decrease. No, you said increase first. Decrease. Price will decrease so that supply also decreases, demand increases. Okay, what do you think will happen to the quantity? Still fall? Why? Because decrease in demand is more than increase in supply. The reason is that. Is it clear? Are you going to write these questions correctly? Please do. Okay, that's all. इससे ज़्यादा कुछ है नहीं इसके अंदर. चलो. Chapter 4, Unit 3, price output determination under different market forms. Now what is happening here? First, we are going to discuss perfect competition. First, what are the conditions under perfect competition? First, there are large number of buyers and sellers who do not have an influence on the price. Their market share is very, very less and they cannot influence the price. Second, homogeneous products. If they are homogeneous products, they are perfect substitutes. If they are perfect substitutes, they have perfectly elastic demand. Yes. Third, free entry and exit from the market. These are the three conditions. Additional three conditions are buyers and sellers have perfect knowledge about the market. Second, very low transaction cost. That they do not need to go and find a buyer and seller. They can find it in the market automatically. And buyers and sellers are price takers. Okay. Now, next, price determination under perfect competition. First, equilibrium of the industry. The equilibrium of the industry is met when the total output in the market is equal to the total demand by people. Yes, that's how it is decided. Profit maximization is the goal, but when is the industry in equilibrium? When total output is equal to total demand. So how is basically prices found? By interactions of demand and supply. Firms are price takers, but in the industry, when there is interaction of demand and supply, they decide the market clearing price or the equilibrium price. Is that clear? Is it necessary it will be the equilibrium price, or it can just be the price which is available? Will it be the equilibrium price, or will it be just a price which has been found out? It will be when at the point where demand and supply interact and the point at which they meet is going to be the equilibrium price, no guys? Yes? That's what I was asking. Yes ma'am, आप क्या confidently बोल रहे हो? So when this price is met, then what is happening here? There is complete satisfaction to both buyers and sellers. Why? Because this is the point they agree at, that this is the price and this is the quantity. Now what does equilibrium of the firm mean? The firm is said to be in equilibrium when it maximizes its profit. Now what is happening here? Chalo, let's do this. अपने आप समझ में आ जाएगा. AR curve here is what? AR curve is equal to AR is equal to MR. Why? When constant AR, when the price is constant, we already know price is equal to AR. What is AR actually? Average revenue earned per unit of output. Yes, that's it. I know AR is average revenue, guys. Please. Thank you. Chalo. Now, average revenue curve is perfectly elastic. We read in perfect competition that they're homogeneous products, so the curve is going to be perfectly elastic. Because AR is constant, AR is equal to MR. When price is set, firm adjusts the output according to the market price. Because they are price takers. They accept whatever the price the industry sets. Yes? And they set it according to interaction in demand and supply. So all the firms are price takers. These are points you already know. Perfect competition mein are the products differentiated or homogeneous? Homogeneous. Okay. Now when demand is greater than supply, what happens to the price? Price will increase, demand will fall, supply will increase. When supply is greater than demand, price will decrease, demand will increase and supply will decrease. That is how you are getting back to the equilibrium position. Now in this scenario, where you are talking about trends in revenue of a competitive firm. Why is this stuck? Chalo. Price and quantity sold, total revenue, average revenue, marginal revenue is given. Now what can you see? What is equal? Price is equal to AR is equal to MR. Yes. Now when quantities are sold consecutively, here you can see 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I am saying total revenue increases by an amount which is equal to the price. Total revenue is increasing by the amount which is equal to the price. So that is why AR is equal to MR is equal to price. Now conditions for equilibrium of a firm. What are the conditions? Two conditions of equilibrium of a firm. Marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. Why? When MR is greater than MC, they will continue to produce because additional units are adding more to revenue than to cost. They don't go beyond MC is equal to MR because MC becomes greater than MR and additional units are adding more to cost than to revenue. So the profit maximizing position would be MC is equal to MR. That is the first condition of equilibrium of a firm. Second condition is MC curve cuts MR curve from below. So MC curve would have a positive slope. Now short run profit maximization by a competitive firm. Now in this scenario, market, you know, wherever the demand and supply would interact and meet, that is the price, equilibrium price which is decided. Now that equilibrium price is taken by the firms because they are price takers. Now what are the two conditions? MC is equal to MR and MC curve cuts MR curve from below. At point T, which condition is being satisfied? MR is equal to MC. So only this one condition is satisfied. Now MC curve is cutting MR curve from above. So the second condition is not satisfied. Second condition is satisfied at point R, where MC is equal to MR and MC curve cuts MR curve from below. Understandable? Okay. Chalo. Short run supply curve of the firm in a competitive market. Now what is happening here? I am saying the supply curve of the firm would look like the marginal cost curve of the firm when price is greater than AVC. When price is greater than average variable cost, the supply curve of a firm will look like the marginal cost curve. Reason? When price is less than AVC, what happens? You're generally shutting down or you're not supplying anything or producing anything. So when the supply itself is 0 units, how will the supply curve look like anything? It would not. But anything above the level where price is greater than AVC, your supply curve will look similar to your marginal cost curve. You know the conditions already. Are the conditions being satisfied at all the 4 points? Where the price is 1, the industry sets a price and the price is 1. Price is 2, for example. Sorry, the first one. Price is 2. What are the conditions of equilibrium? This is the MC MR curve. So MC is equal to MR. This is the MR curve. And this is the MC curve. Is it cutting it from below? So at all points, is that being satisfied? Yes or no? So these curves can look similar. Yes? Okay. Chalo, can a competitive firm earn profits? Yes, first, short run we are talking. This short run only what we are doing. Supernormal profits. What are supernormal profits? When average revenue is greater than average cost, then you are earning supernormal profits. And in this scenario, where is your average revenue curve? It is parallel to the x-axis. And your average total cost is QB. So is QB less than or greater than EB? EQ, sorry. Less than. So your average total cost is less than average revenue. It leads to supernormal profits. What are normal profits? When average cost is equal to average revenue. Both are meeting at the same point. It is normal profits. When do you make losses? When your average cost is greater than your average revenue. But when would you stop production? When price is less than average variable cost. You should be able to cover at least your variable cost and part of fixed cost to continue production. Yes? Let's solve this example again whenever you have time. Tasty burgers wala example. Long run equilibrium of a competitive firm. We just did short run, long run equilibrium. Firstly, what does a long run equilibrium mean? What happens in long run? Understand, if firms are earning abnormal profits in the short run, what will happen? New firms are attracted to join the industry. When new firms enter, what happens? More supply increases, Cost of production, how does it increase? Because the input rate would increase. Limited input, more number of suppliers buying the same thing. Input rate would increase, so the cost of production increases. So what happens eventually? That abnormal profit will come down to normal profit. It will come down to a position when AR is equal to AC. In case the firms are earning losses in the short run, what would happen? Existing firms will start exiting the market in the long run. Once they exit the market, what will become less? Supply is less. When supply becomes less, the input prices also will reduce. So cost of production will also reduce. Yes. So from the level of losses, you gain to the profit, normal profit level. So you come to a position where AR is equal to AC. So in any scenario, in the long run, under perfect competition, firms can earn only normal profits. Now I think this should be your favorite. What is happening here? Chalo. This you have to remember also. कोई choice भी नहीं है दूसरा. What is happening here? Now let's start with what you already know. You know long run average cost curve and short run average cost curve. Yes? You know what optimum output is? Now what is an optimum output? When it is able to, in the long run, at minimum cost, maximum output. Okay? When LAC is tangent to the minimum portion of SAC. That is the point where there is least cost and optimum output. Now that is happening at this point. Yes? Yes? First scenario, LAC is equal to SAC. Now your conditions, where is SMC cutting? SMC cutting SAC? Yes, short run marginal cost is cutting. Short run average cost is long run average LMC cutting LAC. So LMC is cutting LAC, SMC is cutting SAC from below. So does that be equal to SMC equal to LMC? And they are all meeting at the point where P is equal to AR is equal to MR. Do you get your entire definition there? You are saying there is optimum utilization of resources, optimum output at least cost. Everything is satisfied in the long run. Okay? Yes? Sure. Long run equilibrium of the industry. What are the three conditions in which the industry is in long run? All the firms in the industry are in equilibrium, meaning all of them are earning maximum profits. Okay. So none of them have an incentive to either enter or exit the market because all of them are earning normal profits. Yes, all of them are earning normal profits. Price is such that quantity supplied is equal to quantity demanded. These are the three conditions in which you can say long run equilibrium of the industry is met. Now, what are the scenarios or how does in the long run things happen? First, the output is produced at minimum feasible cost. Feasible cost, yes, as low as possible. So what the output is produced at minimum feasible cost. Consumer pay the minimum possible price which just covers the marginal cost. So price is equal to MC, which is nothing but AR is equal to MC. Yes. Next, plants are used to full capacity in the long run. So there is no wastage of resources. When there is no wastage of resources, MC is equal to AC. Then firms can earn only normal profits, we know, that is AC is equal to AR. Firms maximize profits, which point? MC is equal to MR. There is optimum number of firms in the industry, guys. Under perfect competition, in the long run, all the firms are optimum firms. Because I said all of them need to be in equilibrium. If all of them have to be in equilibrium, they all have to be optimum firms. All of them have to produce at minimum feasible cost and optimum output needs to be produced. Yes, only then long run equilibrium of the industry is reached. So after getting to all that, you get to the equation of LAR is equal to LMR is equal to P is equal to LMC is equal to LAC. That is, optimum allocation of resources are being done. Okay? Myth, okay, but still you have to learn it. There's no option. Chalo, monopoly. What does monopoly mean? Single seller, he is a price maker. He decides what price needs to be, what price he will sell at. Then, firm and industry are the same thing here because there's only one seller. Barriers to entry, he does obviously whatever kind of operational, legal, which kind of barrier they put, but there's barriers to entry. No close substitutes, so cross elasticity would be 0 or negligible. And market power, they hold the highest power, so they can decide what price, what output they need to produce. What is the fundamental cause of monopoly rising? How do they occur and how do they continue to be a monopoly? Barriers of entry, yes, strategic control over resources, technology, developing or acquiring, yeah, forming business forms or cartels, yes, deciding price, dominance over what? Government granting exclusive rights that government has. So on the basis of legal or operational way, they are trying to restrict other people from entering. People who are in monopoly power enjoy very large economies of scale. It's not possible for everyone to do that. They see in a way that large amount of investment is done. So huge amount of investment for a startup is very, very difficult. So they cannot even come and deal with the monopoly power. Okay? And yeah, technological barriers are what? If these people have control over the technology, others can't. Copyrights and patents, they are called. Goodwill. Goodwill they enjoy already. If they're whatever they are doing is already copyrighted and patented, others cannot use it. Okay? Next, monopolist revenue curves. What does it mean? I am talking about an assumption where this is moving slowly. Correct, you're right, but I'm waiting for this to. खुद ही हो गया स्विच ऑफ. Chalo. Monopolist revenue curves, what is happening here? Assumption is a single price is set under this, just for this graph. A single price is set by the monopolist and he charges everyone the same price. In that scenario, what happens to the curve? AR and MR are both negatively sloped. MR curve lies halfway between AR and y-axis. That is, it divides it into two equal parts. MR can be 0 or negative. AR cannot be negative. This we know. Now, profit maximization in a monopolized market, equilibrium of the monopoly firm. So, what are the conditions for equilibrium? Short run equilibrium, again the same. MC is equal to MR and MC curve cuts MR curve from below and MC has a positive slope. Okay? So, then in this scenario, these are the conditions of equilibrium. I am not explaining the graph again. Now, you should be able to understand where MC is meeting MR. So, first, profit scenario, do you know when are you earning supernormal profits? When average revenue is greater than average cost, you are earning supernormal profits in the short run. Now, sometimes you are also earning losses. In which condition would you shut down? Price is less than average variable cost. Guys, understand, shutdown is not forever, but for the meantime where you are not able to understand what to do, where you can increase your price more than average variable cost. Till you reach that level, you would be shut down. Yes? So, can a monopoly firm earn losses? It is very much possible. Okay? Now, long run equilibrium. So, what happens in long run equilibrium of a monopolist firm? Are they still earning supernormal profits? Yes, they can. They can, because there are barriers to entry. They are not exiting the market. So, when they are completely taking care of what is to be supplied, how much it's going to be supplied, they are going to fix the price. So, they can be earning supernormal profits in the long run. Yes, because there is absolute absence of competition, and in the long run, generally what happens, we see that LAC curve needs to be tangent to SAC at its minimum point, but here that is not required. Till they are earning profits, they can stop at any point. They do not need to reach the optimum output point. Yes, the monopolist need not do that. So here we've written a minimum of LAC is not required. He can stop at any point. What is price discrimination? So in which, yes. So basically, first they should have some supply over the product they are talking about. They all should be price makers. When they are price makers, they should be able to divide their market into various markets and sub-markets. Each of the markets should have different price elasticities. When there are different elasticities, then in the market where it's less elastic, what should happen to the price? Price would be more. Yes, and where it's more elastic, price would be less. Yes, in order to attract customers and in order not to lose customers. In both the scenarios, you will have it. And what else? No market arbitrage. You cannot buy from a place where the price is less and sell it to a place where the price is more. So, no market arbitrage. Now, in this condition, now what are the objectives of price discrimination? To earn maximum profit, to dispose of the surplus stock, to enjoy economies of scale, to capture foreign markets, and to secure equity through pricing. Is this clear? Yes. Now price discrimination can take place due to various reasons. Either differences in the locality or age, income, customer segment. It can be any reason for the reason of discrimination. Now price discrimination may be related to consumer surplus. It was explained by Professor Pigu. Three degrees of price discrimination. What are 3 degrees of price discrimination? First, they charge whatever the other person can pay. So the entire consumer surplus is taken away. Here your examples are doctors, lawyers, etc. Then, part of consumer surplus is taken away in the second degree of price discrimination. They are under 2. First, depending on the quantity they sell at which price. And second, consecutive purchases, the prices vary. Example of this, I gave you the example. Electricity, telephone companies, after a certain limit, charges are higher. Third degree of price discrimination, what happens here? Price varies according to location or customer segment. Yes, prices vary. I have given you example of railways here. And also one more example is dumping. What is dumping? When your price is lesser in the domestic market and you dump products in a foreign market at a lesser price. The reason might be overproduction or trying to create a space for yourself in the foreign market. Okay, the reason might be anything, but dumping means that. So you need to understand what dumping is. You should know that in your own domestic market the price would be higher than the foreign market where you're dumping your product. Yes? Okay. Equilibrium under price discrimination. What does this mean? I am saying equilibrium is reached in 2 conditions where marginal revenue of all the sub-markets is equal and the aggregate marginal revenue is equal to the marginal cost. These are the 2 conditions in which equilibrium is reached under price discrimination. Now what happens? How do you see? The marginal revenue will be different in different sub-markets because of its elasticities. Yes? When it is different, how do you come to a position of equilibrium? You transfer from a sub-market in which marginal revenue is less to a sub-market in which marginal revenue is more. So from more it will start getting lesser, from less this will start getting more. So that will come to a position where MRA is equal to MRB. Yes? So now when you look at this graph, from this you tell me all the points. First, what is the level of output is OM. Now this OM needs to be divided into these 2 groups in such a way that AMR is equal to MC. So now you need to put the products, you divide the products into two markets saying OM1 and OM2. Then what happens to the marginal revenue? The marginal revenue of A plus B is equal to aggregate marginal revenue. Yes? But it should come to a place where MRA becomes equal to MRB. Only then it is considered to be in equilibrium. Yes? Next, prices. One market obviously the price should be high, one market it should be low because of different elasticities. The price will vary? Yes? Yes or no? After all this happens, you have to reach to a position where aggregate marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. This is one condition. Second condition is MRA is equal to MRB. Is it clear? Is there any confusion in this? No? Okay, chalo. What are you doing? What in AMR you are adding laterally the marginal revenues of all the sub-markets. Okay? You are adding laterally all the marginal revenues of various sub-markets. Now, economic effects of monopoly. What are economic effects of monopoly? Does it reduce consumer welfare? It is unfair that they earn supernormal profits in the long run. What else? Price is greater, output is lesser because there is no competition. Customer is not the king because monopolists decide what they want to produce, how much they want to produce, at what rate they want to sell. Yes? Yes, lower prices, they pay lower prices to the suppliers. They use their political influences. They create barriers. They use tactics which are unjust to keep competitors out. Yes? Yes, they pay less to suppliers, yes. They reduce consumer surplus. We've read 3 degrees of price discrimination. So all these are the effects of monopoly. Imperfect competition. Given by John Robinson. Now what are features of monopolistic competition? First, there are large number of buyers and sellers, and large number of sellers mainly, who have a great impact on the supply of the product. So they are also price makers and not price takers. They decide not only the price but also the level of output. Yes? What is product differentiation? Product differentiated on the basis of a brand, say the size, the color, the design, the advertising, the packaging, they can differ on various levels. But what are you trying to create? Brand loyalty. You're trying to create brand loyalty for your product, yeah, and you're trying to create goodwill for your product. You're trying to get a competitive edge over the others. You're trying to make a monopoly power of your own over your competitors. Yes? Freedom of entry and exit, there is no kind of barrier for entry and exit. It might not be easy, but it is there. You can enter the market. Non-price basis competition. What does this mean? They are not fighting on the basis of price. They are not trying to reduce or increase the price. They are trying to fight on the basis of advertisement cost, selling cost, and how the other would react. If I make a change in my price or my output or any condition, then what would my competitor react like? Yes, they are fighting on those conditions and not on price. Price output determination under monopolistic competition. So here all your points are written, we'll just revise it. Each firm is a price maker, takes decisions about both price and output. More as less the differentiated the product is, it's a closer substitute. Yes? Downward sloping demand curve. Here in this case, what is happening? How is the demand curve? Downward. Your AR curve is your demand curve, guys. Yes? MC is equal to MR is the point at which profits are maximized. You know the other condition, MC curve cuts MR curve from below. So when AR is greater than AC, what kind of profits you are earning? Abnormal profits or supernormal profits. We have already discussed the conditions. Now, in case of loss, it's very much possible that they earn losses. Yes? In the short run, they can either earn supernormal profits, normal profits, or they can earn losses. What is normal profits? When do you earn normal profits? When AR is equal to AC. When AC is greater than AR, losses. So that's the situation in which they are earning losses. Now what is long run? In imperfect competition. Long run equilibrium, how it's attained? Now in the long run, under imperfect competition, can the firm earn supernormal profits? Only normal profits. Guys, only under monopoly they are earning supernormal profits in the long run. Under perfect competition and under imperfect competition, they are going to earn normal profits. Reason is the entry exit barrier not existing. When entry, now again the same scenario, I'll rediscuss it. When there is abnormal profits in the short run, new firms are attracted, and during the long run period, new firms enter the market. Yes, when they enter the market, what happens to the supplier? Supply, it increases. Cost of production increases because the limited input, then profits decrease. So it comes down from supernormal profit to normal profit. In case of losses, they start exiting the market, and then cost of production will decrease, and ultimately from losses they get to a position of normal profit. Yes? Now, what are the major points in the long run which we need to understand here? Chalo. Firms in equilibrium in long run. First scenario. Guys, first scenario is they are not producing to the optimum level. They want to, but they are not. Why? Because average revenue is falling at a faster rate than average cost. Yes? Beyond the point, so it's not able to reach the minimum point of short run average cost curve. So when the minimum point is met, you say that is the optimum output point and minimum cost point. That is not happening under imperfect competition. So do they have excess capacities left? The firms cannot be called optimum firms. Yes? And here in the long run, AR is equal to AC. All the firms are only going to earn normal profits. Is that clear? This comparison, did you guys read? Is there any confusion? I think it's very clear and evident. Clear distinction is there. Is there any confusion in this? जिन्होंने पढ़ा नहीं उनके बारे में पूछ भी नहीं रही मैं. Oligopoly. What is oligopoly? चलो. There are fewer sellers in the market. Yes? According to Stigler, he defines oligopoly as that situation in which firm bases its market policy in part on the expected behavior of few close rivals. What does this mean? What does expected behavior of few close rivals mean? Because they respond to each other's actions. Depending on the price, the output, the product change, the advertising technique, the marketing technique, whatever they do, they see what the reaction of their competitor would be. Based on that, they take decisions. All of them have control over the price which they sell at. Yes? Then competition is intense. What kind of products do they sell? It may be homogeneous also or differentiated product as well. It can be any kind of product. Now what are they trying to do? They use aggressive marketing techniques. Why? They are not competing on price basis. They are competing on non-price basis. According to the advertisement technique, they are trying to compete on non-price basis. They are not trying to throw people out of the market. They are not trying to throw competitors out of the market, but they are trying to get a competitive edge over the others. Is oligopoly a type of imperfect competition? Remember that. Okay? Now, they try not to let other firms enter. Entry into oligopoly market is slightly a little more difficult. Okay, any other point we're missing here? They act group behavior. They look at common interest and they might act accordingly. Okay? Now types of oligopoly. First, pure oligopoly or perfect oligopoly. What does this mean? They are all selling homogeneous products. All of them are selling homogeneous products. So what happens in this case? They are close substitutes, perfect substitutes in fact. Okay? And what happens in case of imperfect oligopoly? Differentiate products are sold. Okay, open and closed oligopoly. Open, free entry into the market. Closed oligopoly, restricted entry. Collusive and competitive oligopoly. Collusive is they come to a common understanding as to what the price or output or both can be. Yes? They just come to a common understanding that yeah, this is how we are going to sell. Let's try and do this in the market. What is competitive oligopoly? They are all competitors and they act, they take their own price, their own output. Okay? Partial oligopoly. There's a price leader. Price leader who sets the output, who sets the price, and others follow. What is full oligopoly? No one is following anybody. Everybody is there doing their own thing. Then leading to what? The market will be conspicuous by the absence of price leadership, because nobody will know what exactly to follow. So everybody is having their own prices. Syndicated and organized oligopoly. What is syndicated oligopoly? Firms sell through a centralized syndicate. All the firms together are only selling through this one portal. That is the centralized syndicate. What is organized oligopoly? They form a central association to decide the price, the output, or whatever marketing technique they are going to use. They follow those rules and each of them sell separately. Yes? We've already discussed characteristics of oligopoly market, importance of advertising and selling costs, and group behavior. We've already discussed this. Yes? What does strategic interdependence mean? It's only about the action-reaction. So, if one person is doing something, how would the other person react? So, this competition is always going on between them. So, they're not independent. They're dependent on each other. Yes? Each other is the competitors, the oligopoly, the few sellers. Price and output decisions in an oligopolistic market. Now, there are certain price output models which we have spoken about. In first case, it is assumed that some economists have said that these oligopoly markets are not dependent on each other. They are all independent sellers. Once they become independent sellers and they are not strategically interdependent, what happens? So, demand curve will be clear. It will come to a scenario where MC is equal to MR. What we were doing in imperfect competition, it would come to that level. There would be a clear demand curve and clear profit maximization position. Second scenario, where oligopolists spoke about the reaction pattern, that the price and output is set on the basis of how your competitors will react. Here we have read three models. First, the Carnot model. Here the control variable is the output. Then the Stackelberg model. Here one person is the leader. He decides the output and the others follow. Third, Bertrand's model. Here the price control variable is the price. What is the third approach? Here you are talking about group behavior. When they have the common understanding, common interest, and they understand together what the price output techniques should be, and they follow the trend accordingly. That is your group behavior. What is price leadership? What are cartels? Group of sellers or firms who decide, and they do not let others enter as well, and they are going to rule, ki boss, this is how it's going to be done. This is going to be the price, this is going to be the output. You cannot sell beyond this, you can sell lesser than this. Okay? So, cartels are generally illegal in most of the countries, but they exist. Now, who is a price leader? It can be an old firm, a respectable firm, a firm with minimum cost, a firm with maximum output, a firm with the most modern technology, and a dominating firm. Okay? So, these are your price leadership. What is your example of oligopoly? OPEC, which is operations of exporting countries. Okay. Kinked demand curve given by Paul A. Sweezy. Here he speaks about the fact that in an oligopolistic market, prices are rigid. So where there is price rigidity, the demand curve sees a kink at that point. Now, where there is a kink, this is the demand curve. There is a kink, that is the price, that's the prevailing price and also the price rigidity price. Why is that price rigid? The oligopolists believe that if they reduce the price, others will also reduce the price and they will lose profit. They are actually not gaining anything, they are just losing money. And if they increase the price, they are going to lose customers. So, the area above the kink is elastic, meaning if there is a small change in price, the demand will change more than proportionately. And the area below the kink is inelastic, that a small change in price will lead to less than proportionate change in demand. What is the assumption here? response to a price rise is less than response to a price decrease from the other sellers. So I am saying, if I give you a scenario in the exam where I say, on what basis do oligopolists take decisions regarding prices? If their competitors reduce the price, if the competitors increase the price, or if the competitors keep the price constant, none of the above. When the competitors reduce the price, the reaction will be more than what will happen in case of increase. Is that clear? So now the area, if in case of MC curve, there are 3 more points, which last 3 points. The marginal revenue curve below the kink is discontinuous. The marginal cost curve operates in the discontinuous region. Hence, even if the marginal cost curve changes, there will be no change in the price. Is it clear? Other important market forms. Duopoly. There are only 2 firms in the market. Are they sellers or buyers? Sellers. There are only 2 sellers. Then monopsony is single buyer of a product or service. So here is a single seller. Oligopoly, few buyers. And bilateral monopoly, single buyer and single seller. So it's a mixture of monopoly market and oligopoly market. Is it clear?